Hello out there. How is everyone doing? This is Luke Eccles from FantasyBroSports coming at you with a little fantasy golf content for the PGA Championship. So excited about this weekend's last major. A little bit bummed about it. Definitely feel like the model and our picks are starting to hit their stride. But, we got the FedEx Cup to look forward to after this week. A lot of big name players up there, so should be interesting rest of the year. So, with that, let's get right into the PGA Championship this week. It's Mr. Belvedere Country Club in St. Louis, Missouri. Uh, that was a joke for anybody who didn't get it. Belle Rive Country Club is the actual name. I don't know why Mr. Belvedere sticks out, but from now on, I'm going to call it Mr. Belvedere Country Club. But it's in St. Louis, Missouri. Familiar with St. Louis. Definitely never been to a country club down there, though. But the course looks beautiful. One thing that I've heard that helps out, a little course preview is right to left ball flights. So, guys that have a little bit of a draw to their hit, or by when we go through the model and some Fantasy Bro Sports picks this week, you'll see that I'm going to put a little elevated plus to left-handed hitters too, because they got the same right to left ball flights in there. So going to be looking at guys like that. It's not the overall most important factor is to be able to hit a draw at this course. But definitely a straight ball is always nice. That's never going to hurt you. Last week they were talking about the Bridgestone Firestone course that they played at last week being left to right ball flight, kind of set up for those players better. And, JT hits that left to right ball flight. Dustin Johnson hits that left to right ball flight as well. Some of the bigger names, but definitely got to look forward to that with those guys bombing that ball off the tee like that. Having the right setup mentally really helps you to be able to unleash those 350 plus yard drives. So anyway, getting back to the PGA Championship this week, probably going to be looking at guys that hit right to left ball flight, try to get a little bit of a advantage there. The rough looks thick. The rough looks like you don't really want any part of it. Obviously, players are eventually going to hit in the rough, but you definitely don't want to try to avoid that. So, driving accuracy I think is going to be important this week, just to kind of keep it in the fairway, keep it out of the rough. But also driving distance I really think is going to be important this week as well, because like I said, you're going to be in the rough. It's going to happen. Every player, doesn't hit every drive in the fairway. So, the players that can hit it farther when they're in the rough are going to have easier plays out of the rough to get to the green, as opposed to the guys that don't hit it too far off the tee and then end up in a rough, and then they might, have to hit a high iron or, even maybe a hybrid out of the rough. So definitely makes a big difference there, driving accuracy and driving distance. Also, it looked like there were big greens. A lot of the greens, most of them look like they were elevated. So what I'm looking at there is just kind of thinking of guys that, hit good flop shots, can get it up in the air out of the rough on the green, get it close, able to chip up and down for par, maybe even on those par fives, chip up and down for birdie. So weather-wise, it looks like maybe chance of storms on Friday and Saturday. Being familiar with the St. Louis area, this time of year, nasty storms can pop up at any time. So definitely keep an eye on the weather. I'm not really playing into the weather factor one way or the other for the PGA Championship right now, but it's Tuesday morning, so maybe something else will come out later tomorrow that might make us adjust our lineups depending on the weather. But right now, don't really think I'm factoring it in at all with my pick. So, the other thing, I really feel like this course is going to be similar to the Firestone Country Club last week at the Bridgestone Invitational. That was a world golf event, but the golf course played fair. It definitely kind of catered to the big bombers that were keeping it relatively straight. Rory up there at top. JT obviously won it. Justin Thomas won it. Dustin Johnson was up there at the top too. So Brooks Koepka, all those guys had good weeks that could just grip and rip it and get it out there farther than anybody. So I definitely feel like this week's going to be something pretty similar. So, going into the model a little bit, the model has been hitting. I will say it's been a lot more effective with the lower valued guys and the sleepers. Still a little inconsistent at the top of the list, the more expensive guys, but that's tough. I feel like definitely playing DraftKings, DFS. Once you get to the top, kind of gut pick there, whoever you feel like could win any given week. These guys, some of these guys are so talented that they could step up and win a golf tournament at, the flip of a switch. We've seen Spieth do it before. Dustin Johnson has just dominated golf tournaments. So, and then you see Justin Thomas just stepped up and played great last week to get the win. We've seen Rory do it at Bay Hill, just, came out of nowhere, I guess. I mean, he wasn't playing very good at all. And then at Bay Hill just ended up dominating and winning the tournament. So, the guys definitely at the top of the list. Sometimes it's just take your pick and, you spend that much money on a guy in DraftKings, $10,000 plus, you need him to win, or sometimes you could get away with the top 5 depending on how all those other picks look. But yeah, one thing I am going to try this week, like I said, the middle tier value guys, the lower tier value guys, the model's been really consistent with so far. But I think at the top of the heap this week, my strategy is just going to kind of be to wait till Wednesday and see what the lower owned studs are, and then maybe picking one of those lower owned studs and hopefully get a little value there with low ownership percentage, and then go from there as far as using the model to fill in the rest of the picks there. So last week we had 7 out of our 30 picks we recommended for Fantasy Bro Sports. 7 out of those 30 picks made the top 10. Unfortunately, there we didn't have Justin Thomas. Kind of had some inconsistent play lately, so he didn't really pop on the model as much as some of the other players. But hey, he's a world-class player. He's probably number 1 player in the world again. Him and DJ have been going back and forth for the last year, so definitely. If you didn't have Justin Thomas last week, you probably didn't do so hot. But we're moving on to the PGA Championship, so gonna look forward to having a good week this week. So, one thing I did want to talk about as far as the model goes is the statistics that we've put in the model. I've talked about a couple of them already. Driving distance is a stat we put into the model, driving accuracy as well. Greens in regulation, and then stroke gain putting are the stats we put in the model to kind of let the model do its work, and then it'll spit out the players that kind of have the best of everything going into the PGA Championship, and then that's the players that we recommend that you guys roll with. So getting right into it. Getting right into the model, getting right into Fantasy Bro Sports picks. Starting at the top, Dustin Johnson. We saw him just dominate a couple tournaments recently. Last week at Firestone, he kind of had up and down first 3 rounds and then just caught fire on the fourth round. Had a 29, I think, on the front 9, kind of leveled off a little bit on the back 9. But, his game is primed for this PGA Championship. I think Dustin Johnson definitely has the game to win some more majors. This might be the one. So Dustin Johnson's an A pick for us. If you can fit him in your lineup, there's plenty of sleepers and low-owned guys down at the bottom of this list to fit any of these top-owned guys in your lineup. So Dustin Johnson, overall, A pick. Gonna recommend him. Second on the list, Rory McIlroy. Got Rory McIlroy as an A pick. He's the top overall player according to the model. Number 1 overall pick right there is Rory McIlroy. I'm rolling with Rory in one and done league. Then I put outright bet on him as well. So he played great last week. Didn't quite do enough on Sunday, which we've seen from him a couple times, but he's won the PGA Championship a couple times. I thought he looked great last week, and he's primed to win. So Rory McIlroy, roll with him. If you want to can fit him in your lineup there. So, the third player on the list, going with Jordan Spieth. Gonna kind of stay away from Spieth this week still. Early on in the week, I kind of was thinking about rolling with Spieth because, I mentioned low-owned studs. I feel like he's probably going to be one of the lower-owned studs going into this tournament. Just don't still quite have the confidence in Spieth. But, we've seen him pop out of nowhere and win majors. So definitely wouldn't put it past him. I said I'm avoiding Spieth this week. The model has Spieth as a B pick. So, going with the model, if you want to put him in your lineup, you have the confidence in Spieth. Maybe you think he's low-owned and want to get a little value there, roll with him. Ricky Fowler is the next guy on DraftKings at $10,200. Models got Ricky as a B pick. We were all in on Ricky last week and just kind of been inconsistent lately. He's been up and down, had some great rounds, but he's had a lot of bad rounds and just not playing in as consistent right now as what we'd like to see if we were going to go back all in on Ricky again, So got Ricky as a B pick. Definitely don't avoid him, but he's probably not going to see my lineups this week. Number 5th in DraftKings, salary at $9,900 is Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, the model's got Tiger as an A pick. Tiger's got history everywhere. He contended for a few rounds last week and then fell off. There was a stat I tweeted about that Golf Channel threw up there as Tiger was kind of going the wrong way on Sunday, but his swing speed has decreased for the last 5 tournaments. I think the average swing speed he had 5 tournaments ago was like 125 miles an hour, and every tournament, the last 5 tournaments, it's went 125 average swing speed, 119, 118. I think last week at Bridgestone, it was 115 mile an hour swing speed. So not really sure how to read into that, but definitely thought it was uber interesting, especially just the past with Tiger and some of his history with injuries and stuff. Want him to stay healthy because enjoy watching him play golf a whole bunch. Definitely want him to compete for a major. I'm probably going to once again stay away from this weekend in my DraftKings lineup, but the model does have him as an A pick. Be interesting to see what his ownership percentage is when it comes out, Wednesday. Gets a little more firm. So, next up on the list, Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas won last week. Had a great tournament. The Fantasy Bro Sports model has Justin Thomas as an A pick, so definitely put him in your lineup. Um, I'm gonna have him in my lineups, at $9,700, kind of in a similar situation to last week at Firestone when he was $9,400. Very low value, very low price for Justin Thomas. The PGA Championship contests and pricing came out before he won last week, so you're getting a value there with Justin Thomas at $9,700. So I'm gonna probably try to take advantage of that in my lineups and just hope he stays hot. He won the PGA Championship last year, and we've seen him get hot in the past. So I think I'm gonna play quite a bit of Justin Thomas this weekend. He's an A pick according to the model. Fantasy Bro Sports is all in on JT this week. So next up, Brooks Koepka, $9,600. Brooks Koepka, just a stud. He's been playing very, very well. He plays championship golf. I think he's going to contend this weekend. Big bomber off the tee. Just hits clutch putt after clutch putt. The model has Brooks Koepka as an A pick. $9,600. I think that's a value. Fantasy Bro Sports all in on Koepka this week. So next up, Justin Rose. Justin Rose, he withdrew last week, so that kind of puts a little bit of doubt in your mind on how well he's going to do. The model still has him as a A pick, but you're going to kind of have to look inside your own feelings and gut about how healthy Justin Rose is. I mean, he's a major championship contender every time he goes out there, but is he healthy or not? I think it was back spasms last week. He's been playing a lot, so maybe he just needed a break. Maybe he left Firestone Country Club early after he withdrew, and he's been playing Belle Rive Country Club all week. Maybe he's got a ton of practice there. So it's hard to say with Justin Rose. Definitely could get a little bit of value there this week too, with people kind of staying away from him. So, and like I said, he's a major championship contender if he's healthy in any event. So Justin Rose, A pick. All in on him if you trust that he's healthy there. So next up, Tommy Fleetwood. I really feel like Fleetwood's going to win one of these things soon enough. At $9,300, definitely a good value there. We've seen Fleetwood have some good tournaments. He always kind of has that one round that does him in. His putter is usually solid, but then it seems like, there's one round where he just loses his golf swing, loses the putting stroke a little bit, and then he kind of falls back and either has to fight back or, we saw him kind of fall back a little bit on Sunday last week. But, Fantasy Bro Sports model has Fleetwood as an A pick, so definitely go all in on Fleetwood if he's your guy there. So next up, Francesco Molinari. Molinari is A pick. According to the model, he's been on fire. His recent form's been great. He kind of fell off a little bit last week in the WGC Bridgestone event. But we've seen him dominate recently. Just maybe was a little wore down last week. But, I think with the PGA Championship, probably step up his game. He's been just a tee to green monster. If he can make those putts, he's going to contend this week. I'm probably going to stay away from him just because I was all in on him last week and kind of faded away a little bit. So maybe he's getting a little tired or, lackluster a little bit with just winning the British Open. Hard to tell there. So, then kind of stay away from Molinari this week. But the model has him as an A pick. So if you're feeling Molly, go all in. Next up, Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm, the model has Rahm as a B pick. Rahm's got the game to contend at these majors. I think he's just got to get some confidence uh, some experience under his belt, and I think eventually he's gonna win one couple majors probably. So then kind of stay away from Rahm this week. Like I said, the model's got him as a B pick, so not a bad pick at all. Could go low owned just the same, so could get some value there. Next up on the list at $9,000 is Jason Day. Jason Day, best putter in the game. Just crazy stats. Some of the putts he's been making and his consistency. So the model's got Jason Day as an A pick. Definitely gonna have some shares of Jason Day this week at $9,000. Think that's a good value. He's a bomber. He hits the ball off the tee as long as anybody. Kind of struggles every once in a while going left and right with it, kind of finding the control. But if he can find his driver this week, he's going to be right there on Sunday to contend for the PGA Championship. He's won it before, so definitely Fantasy Bro Sports likes Jason Day. So next up, Patrick Reed. We've seen Reed kind of be inconsistent since winning the Masters. The model's got Reed as a B pick. I'm going to probably avoid Reed this week just because he's been inconsistent lately. Haven't seen him contend for a major since the Masters, so kind of want to see a little more consistency out of Reed before we buy in again to him winning a major. So next up is Hideki Matsuyama, $8,800. Haven't seen near enough consistency from Matsuyama. He wasn't even a pick this week. He was in a void, so he didn't really even hit on the model. So then kind of stay away from Matsuyama this week. Next up, Hendrik Stenson at $8,700. Stenson is a B pick on the model. Personally, going to stay away from Stenson this week. Kind of feels like he's just going through the motions. I like to see a little more fire out of Stenson, get to that next level in order to win a major. I mean, competing with some of these guys he's competing with right now, he's got to hit another level for his game to beat the likes of DJ and Rory and Justin Thomas. So want to see a little more fire out of Stenson right now. It just kind of seems like he's going with the flow. I mean, I think he should make the cut. Got a definite good chance at getting the top 20 just with his statistics are always off the chart. But personally, going to stay away from Stenson. Model's got him as a B pick, $8,700. Probably not a bad cash game play there. Next up, Alexander Noren. Got Noren as a C pick. Not terrible. Just hasn't really been playing the best of lately. But, he is a world-class player. He could come out of nowhere, get his putter rolling, make some putts, and be right up there top 10 this week. So I'm going to stay away from Noren. The model has him as a C pick. So going to move on to Sergio Garcia at $8,500. I'm going to avoid Sergio this week. Just really haven't seen him play much good golf lately. We've seen him win a major with the Masters, but I don't think we've seen him win since then. So want to see a little more out of Sergio before we put him in our lineups. Next up, we got Patrick Cantlay. $8,400. I mean, he's going to be a cash game staple for me this week. I think he's been ascending probably for the last half of the year. Just hasn't won yet. He's got a very consistent game. The model's got Cantlay as a B pick. So overall, good pick. Put in your lineup, $8,400. I think he could get a top 5 here. Maybe even have a chance to win his first major there. So, Fantasy Bro Sports likes Cantlay once again. Next up, we got Phil Mickelson. I mean, Phil's just been all over the place lately this year. Definitely entertaining golfer. At $8,300. I'm buying into Phil this week. He seems like he's got a pretty good attitude, laid back. The model's got him as a B pick this week. I like Phil because he's a lefty, so he's going to have the ability. Phil can work the ball both ways, but on those times when he needs to play that right to left ball flight, being a lefty, he's going to have the ability to do that. I also like Phil because with the elevated greens, I think his short game will do him a lot of good at this course. I think getting up and down for par is going to be critical, and I think his short game, Phil Mickelson's short game, really going to help him out here. So definitely going to have Phil also in my cash game lineup. So next up is Xander Schauffele. I feel like Schauffele's inconsistent right now at $8,200. We've seen him play well. We've seen him play well enough to win a major. He's won the FedEx Cup event, the Tour Championship. So, definitely a lot of talent there. The model has him as a C pick. I'm going to avoid him this week just because his inconsistent play. I did have him a little bit last week. Didn't really do me much good. So, going to kind of stay away from him this week. Next up, one of my favorite picks this week, Tony Finau at $8,100. He's going to be another staple in my cash lineups. Finau is a pick on the Fantasy Bros model. So, at $8,100, Fantasy Bros Sports going all in on Tony Finau. Looking for him to contend this week and excited about it because I like Finau. Up next, Paul Casey. Paul Casey, he's been up and down this year. The model has him as a B pick. I'm staying away from Paul Casey. Don't really like his game enough to invest in his inconsistent play. So, maybe get burnt sometimes, but either way, I'm staying away from Paul Casey. Next up, at $8,000 is Bubba Watson. Bubba Watson right now is a C pick according to the model. I'm probably going to play Bubba a little bit. Just, we've seen him win 3 times this year. So, his game is one of the best in the game when the course sets up right for him. And, hearing that little tidbit about the right to left ball flight does well at this course. Bubba can move the ball that way pretty much at will. He also has the short game to get up and down on those elevated greens. So I'm buying into Bubba this week. He's definitely going to get some shares in my DraftKings lineup. Fantasy Bro Sports definitely, if you're feeling Bubba this week, put him in your lineup. Next up, Kuchar. We got Kuchar as a C pick. I'm going to kind of stay away from Kuch. Just kind of hasn't been consistent at all this year. Saw him hit a couple big misses last week that just were very not like Kuch. So, going to stay away from him. Next up, at $7,900, I'm going to talk about him a little bit as a void for me. Is Bryson DeChambeau. When few weeks ago, a month ago, when he won at the Memorial, I was thinking him right away for this PGA Championship, but man, since then it's just been rocky roller coaster for DeChambeau. He's had an injury in there, Compass controversy, just a lot of things going on with him. So, gonna avoid him this week. Brandon Grace up next. $7,800. He's a C pick on the model. I wouldn't tell you not to play Grace, but he's not going to see any play in my lineup. So going forward, Mark Leishman. Seen him play well lately. $7,800. Leishman's a C pick on the model. If you like Leishman, go ahead and put him in your lineup. He'll be in a couple of mine for sure. Webb Simpson up next. Webb Simpson been playing well. We've seen him play really well at courses similar to this. I think the driving accuracy part is going to hurt him, but could definitely see Webb squeaking out a top 10 this week. So don't avoid Webb. If you like him, I don't think he's going to win, but definitely think he could get a top 10. So, the next few guys, I'm going to kind of just mention that I'm all avoiding Louis Oosthuizen, Adam Scott, Joaquin Neiman, $7,600. That's expensive, I feel like, for Neiman. Thomas Peters, Daniel Berger, staying away from all those guys. The next guy on the list I like at $7,500 is Keegan Bradley. Keegan Bradley's a B pick, so for $7,500, that's a big value right there. So going all in on Keegan, he's going to see plenty of shares in my lineup. The next guy up, I'm staying away from Ben Ann. I'm staying away from Brant Snedeker. The next guy on the list is Zach Johnson at $7,500. I've been all in on ZJ for the last several weeks. I'm staying on that train. He's got that right to left low ball flight that should do well here. Got the short game to help himself out if he gets in trouble. So definitely got Zach Johnson as a good value sleeper pick there at $7,500. Ian Poultier, saw him pop last week and then he faded again. He's just inconsistent from swing to swing, from round to round. Just kind of going to stay away from Poultier this week. Next up, Brian Harman. Short hitter, but a left-handed hitter. Short game, really solid, great putter. Could be a sleeper this week. He's going to go really low owned, but hey, if you want to try to get ahead with a little value there, Harman might be a good pick. Next up, then we kind of skip past Ryan Moore, Kisner, Bello, Cheston Hadley, Yerline, Tyrell Hatton, Grillo. Then kind of stay away from those guys. Next up on the list, guy I like, $7,200, Kevin Chappell. Saw him pop at the British Open. Top 5 there, I think. Maybe faded a little on Sunday, but think he could contend here. He's got a good, solid overall game. So $7,200, Kevin Chappell. Charlie Hoffman, Schwartzel, Charles Howell. Gonna stay away from the Charlie group there. Those guys, not sure what to expect. But, next up, Kyle Stanley. Kyle Stanley played well last week, has really been playing well lately. He's got good recent form. If he rolls the putts in, he could contend again this week. So similar type of course. Next up, Luke List. I like Luke List, big bomber. Short game, needs a little help this week, but I could see him getting the top 10 at $7,100. That's a big time sleeper. So next up, going to kind of roll through a few guys that I like here left, maybe some sleeper picks. Not going to go through everybody still on the list, but a few guys that I do really like, think could be low value guys to put in your lineup. Billy Horschel, $6,900. He has decent recent form. Really popped on some of the stats that I feel like matter here. So could see Horschel contending this week. I got him as a sleeper pick in a few of my DraftKings lineups. Kevin Na. Kevin Na's got the draw ball flight. He has a great short game. Could see Kevin Na kind of creeping up top 20 this week. Anirban Lahiri. He's just got a solid overall game at $6,800. He could be a low value guy to put in your lineup there, help you out with the top 20. Russell Henley at $6,700. Like Henley's overall game. He's just a grinder. Gonna have some shares of Henley in my lineup this week. Maybe one of the best values out there this week is Thor Bjorn Olsen. He plays overseas a whole lot, so his stats don't pop off. But man, he played good this week. He's played good in some major events on here in the European Tour. At $6,700, he's almost a lock in my lineups this week. Thorn Olsen at $6,700. So next guy up, Siwoo Kim. Siwoo Kim's won the Players, so he can win some big tournaments. He's been playing pretty good lately. At $6,700, Siwoo Kim. Another $6,700 guy I like, Hao Tong Lee. He's been popping. Majors, World Golf event last week, he showed well. So definitely has the game to contend with some of these studs. Just got to get a little more confidence and experience under his belt. But I think he could get another top 15 this week for Hao Tong Lee. Next up, next guy I like, might have a little bit of shares up, burnt me a little bit last week, but his stats still fit the course, and he's got good recent form. So if you want to, it's $6,500. Austin Cook there. If you need a low value guy, but there's a lot of value in this tournament. So definitely feel like you can go stars and scrubs lineup if you want. I know with the GPPs this week that I get in DraftKings, I'm going to go with the studs and duds approach. Just kind of, do the Hao Tong Lee, Siwoo Kim, Thorne Olsen, Russell Henley guys, and then put a couple of the top low value guys in my lineup with them to kind of fill out, see if I can get lucky on a GPP. Plenty of cash guys out there to like. I really like the Cantlay, Mickelson, Finau, Bubba combo, and then throw a Keegan Bradley, and then you can put a big stud in there like Justin Thomas or Brooks Koepka. So I will be tweeting about my optimal lineups. Everybody that follows me on Twitter, get that information before lineup lock tomorrow night. Other than that, thanks for listening. I got a podcast now. It's on Spotify, Fantasy Bro Sports podcast on Spotify. Please follow. So make sure you get all the Fantasy Bro Sports content. Thanks everybody for listening. You can follow on Twitter at bro_fantasy. Also got a Facebook page, Fantasy Bro Sports. And yeah, the YouTube videos, I've been getting quite a bit of views on the videos, 100 plus now. So next goal is 1,000 plus. So keep it going, keep sharing. Appreciate everybody listening. Until next time, see y'all later.